for Clemson Sports Talk with Lawton Swan.
Just call me Swanee.
Tiger style. Tiger style.
Finally, Clemson Sports Talk has come back to Drive Time. Hello, everybody. Lawton Swan back in the saddle once again. It is the show that shakes the South Lane. Clemson Sports Talk for you each and every afternoon as you make your way around the great state of South Carolina and beyond, listening to us on fantastic radio stations like Fox Sports Radio 1400 in the Midland, Sports Radio 100.1 The Fan in Florence, 9:20 a.m. in Manning, and everybody who is a part of the program on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Welcome into the program. Working on, trying to improve, trying to make this thing a little bit better. Not necessarily make the show better, I mean, I guess technically, but thinking about the ways to bring more people into the audience, if you will, and working on that today. So a couple of subtle changes coming up in the program a little later. You're getting used to having him here. Chris Landry, LandryFootball.com. And if you don't know Chris, or you've never seen his work or heard him here on the program, I mean, the guy is tuned in. And he is a former recruiting coordinator at LSU. He worked on the staff with the now again, it's the staff with the Browns, but the Brown staff that was coached by a couple of guys that you may have heard of. Bill Belichick, Nick Saban was on that staff as well. So we're talking about a guy who's as dialed in with college and professional sports as anybody. He'll be on the program coming up in hour number 2. And with the new look and feel of the show today, obviously, I'm hoping that engagement is up, especially on Facebook. I don't encourage you enough to share the show, but I will ask you to share it today if you don't mind. Hit that share button and let other people know about the program. And I think the way we're doing it now, if I do this correctly today, we will see, if I don't blow a tire in turn 1. He's put it in the wall, Ricky. If I can make it through today unscathed, because I think anytime you try something new, you get a little bit antsy. You get a little bit, it kind of takes you out of your comfort zone. I would say I'm a little bit there today just because of the nerves of everything. But now the show has started, and I'm feeling good.
I think that your time is done, and I think that the spotlight should go on top of me. Yeah,
I'm feeling it. So there we go. 803-450-0086. That is your phone line and your text line. If you're watching, forget that phone number. I'm going to update that. Like that's on my list of things to do. I was actually thinking about that before we started the program. Drew Watts chiming into the program already. We'll get over there in just a little bit and check out all of your messages. But again, thank you to everybody who has been a part of this show. Thank you to everybody who continues to be a part of this show. And I hope that you will continue to help us grow and make this program the show for Tiger fans everywhere. All right, so the topic du jour, the conversation of the day goes back to essentially the title of the program being, in your opinion, at this point, has some of Clemson's magic worn off because of what's taken place by COVID-19 limiting players' ability to come to Dabo Swinney's camps, by the coaches being unable to see some of these guys during the offseason, having to do things virtually. We've got a premium article up on our website right now over on ClemsonSportsTalk.com diving into the thoughts on the decommitment of Jordan Hancock. As of press time of that article earlier today, I guess we don't really press it, but, as of press time earlier today, that news has not been officially made by Jordan, but sources, including folks at 247 and folks over in Buckeye land, obviously kind of see this writing on the wall. And it's something that we had heard of for a while. We kind of, Tyrese Ingram does a tremendous job for us with our recruiting coverage. And he wrote me about 3 weeks ago, and maybe longer than that, actually. I mean, now that we're kind of in the midst of COVID-19, it's very hard to keep up with days. Like I told you, it's Wednesday. The trash is out. But from that standpoint, Tyrese talked with me about my thoughts on the situation, and that he was sort of getting the vibe that this could be, more to it than just fodder that's out there. And so I can't say, oh man, I was so shocked to find out that this was kind of heading that direction. But from the standpoint of a young man like Jordan Hancock choosing to look towards Ohio State, perhaps, could that come back to the fact that Clemson's, if you talk to players, there are a couple of things that stand out. And we brought this up on the program for many years. The educational aspect of Clemson University is one of the things that these players tend to harp on. That when they get to, wait for it, campus, and they see everything Clemson has to offer, the feeling of being at home comes out. The recognition that it's not just a program about winning football games. The things that I've said for years don't necessarily define this Clemson program and never will. Like, if you think that Dabo Swinney's defined by the 2 national titles that he's gotten, the 5 college football playoffs he's played in, the 4 national championship games he's been a part of, you'd be wrong. That's not where he sees Clemson, and that's not how he sees Clemson being successful. And yes, do they use those items when players are on campus? Absolutely. Why wouldn't you? There have only been 6 college football playoff trophies distributed, and 2 of them are in Tigertown. 2 of them are in Tuscaloosa. 1 of them is in Columbus, and the other's in Baton Rouge. That's it. That is, that is the big gold belt for all you Ric Flair fans out there. And so I believe, and I've said in the past, that I think if we continue on this trend towards the college football playoff being the end-all, be-all, being the thing that defines your success collegiately, people will forget about the BCS championships. People will. I mean, look, the 81 national championship right here over my shoulder on that antique. Is it an antique already? Some of you are like, I was in college in the 80s. I'm no antique, Swanee. Well, true. This older clock with all the games and the scores on it, if you look at that for a few minutes, in a while, I think if the college football playoff continues, some of those things will become less and less meaningful to recruits. They'll want to know, how many golden scepters do you have in the coffers? Well, yeah, we won the national title back in 1981. Yeah, but that was kind of a beauty pageant. It was voted on, and you beat Nebraska, and that's great. But at some point, it's going to turn to where those titles are not nearly as significant. Kind of like the World Championships in the NFL. Nobody cares how many world titles the Chicago Bears have. I don't even know if Chicago Bears fans care how many world championships they have. They care about how many Super Bowls they have. So at some point that might shift, right? But if you can't get these players on campus right now, and we don't know if players are going to be on campus. We talked about this in another premium article yesterday about the recruiting timeline and what that'll look like and how it'll set up. If fans aren't at games and recruits can't be at games, some of the appeal of a small city like Clemson, some of the environment, the aspects of what that town looks like on a game day. I mean, some of the magic that Clemson has, some of the things that make, the something that's special in those hills is missing for a lot of kids today because they're not able to get there to experience it. And I don't think you can insinuate that with the move that was made by Jordan Hancock, that it simply comes down to that, because there was a lot more moving part in that. A lot more. Like Devontae Smith flipping from Ohio State to Alabama, opening up a spot with the Buckeyes. I mean, everything that kind of went into these chess pieces moving around. Late yesterday evening, oddly, Clemson offered Kamari Lassiter, who is a 4-star defensive back out of Tuscaloosa. So this little triangle between Clemson, Columbus, and Tuscaloosa sort of running its course at this point. From that standpoint, though, I do wonder, and again, I think Clemson's taken a hit from people on the outside of the program from the Danny Pearman incident. I think that Dabo Swinney tried to clean that up. I've been a proponent, and I have said consistently that when you have to talk on a topic and when you have to try to convey your message and you haven't walked in somebody else's shoes, you're not going to hit all the marks. You're just not. I don't care if you are white, black, yellow, green, purple, blue, or violet. You cannot hit all the marks. And as good as Dabo Swinney wants to be on the front of making sure that, you know, he is doing the best by his players, when the mic's hot, he is going to make mistakes. And it's not a fault of Dabo Swinney's. It's the reality of what it means to try to speak on very difficult topics without reading off of a sheet of paper that's a prepared statement. You can put out a polished, prepared piece and nail it. You can also put one out and not. I think we all know that. But when you try to flip the mic on or turn the camera on and roll for 15 minutes, and even if it is unscripted and from the heart, you're still going to miss. And everything's not going to be perfect. And then old videos of Dabo Swinney have started to show up from a couple of years ago, and people aren't putting those out there with any semblance of the place and time, and they certainly haven't aged well. And when it's just out there and a recruit sees it, and then you've got fans on social media saying, hey, you should decommit. This is what happens when you're at the top. When you are at the top of the mountain, everybody is going to take their shots, and they don't care. They do not care if those shots are above board or below the belt. Nobody cares, because the goal is to take down the Tigers. And so videos of people driving through during Clemson's March of Change with Confederate flags on their vehicles has been pushed out and propagated to so many people saying, hey, why would you want to go to school at Clemson? Look what's going on. Look what's going on there. These are things that Clemson has to overcome. And these are things that the Tigers traditionally do when they have a kid on campus. This would be something that Dabo Swinney could manage without issue. If kids were visiting for camps, if parents were coming with students to see the school, if they're riding around on a golf cart and getting a chance to feel what Clemson represents to you. 803-450-0086. That's your number, 803-450-0086. Paula wants to know if they decided anything about college football. Not yet, Paula. And I don't know when we will find out. I know the South Carolina High School League made their decision. I saw Drew post that earlier. And Drew, or anybody that's watching, you feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. I don't have the memo in front of me. We can talk about it a little bit. But I believe if everybody plays what they're going to play, based on kind of my assumption of how this would work, it'll end up being an 11-game schedule for two teams. The two teams that play for the state title. 4 teams will have 10 games this year. 8 teams will have 9 games. And 16 teams would play, I think, 8 games. I think that's really how it's going to work out. I think there's 7 regular season games and then the postseason. So you assume that playoff would play down similarly. So you're really going to have a much smaller year than you're accustomed to, which, honest to goodness, at this point, and look, if I'm completely wrong on what that high school league ruling looks like, I'll try to dig it up during the first break just to double check on that. I mean, because I don't want to make a mistake. No! Yeah, I want to be right, but the possibility exists that I could be way off the mark. Drew thinks I'm right. Reading comprehension, it works. It works for me. I just kind of briefly scanned it and kind of got the gist of what it would look like. So I appreciate you, Drew. Thank you, man. And appreciate Paula as well for commenting on the show. But from that standpoint, for kids around the state, what a positive result you got today to hear the fact that they're going to try to get this thing in the fall, whether or not it's the right thing to do, whether or not we have some long-term ramifications that we don't know about just yet from COVID-19. I think we all understand that, but a gut punch would have been to say, hey, we're backing this thing up to the spring. And I know people don't want to do it. You might end up having to do it. It maybe feels a little like a step in the right direction for college football, but everywhere you look across the board, it is, I don't want to call it doom and gloom, because I am certainly not in the business of doom, and I am absolutely not in the business of gloom. I am a positive guy from the word go, but I'm also a realist. I see the reality. And look, I know we got about 8 or 9 days till I've been a month in on telling you I don't think we're having college football. It's like we're 3 weeks into my thoughts on it, and people are going, hey, you know what? That Swanee guy is not so far off, my friends. And so from that standpoint, it's a painful place to be. Nobody wants to be here. Everybody would like for COVID-19 to be gone. But it is certainly the reality that I feel like we are in. Somebody asked me today about what we're dealing with and why it's still so troublesome. And it really, I feel like it in a lot of respects, whether it be school, whether it be football. I think the scenario I would give you is this. If your house caught on fire, you would eventually want to move back in. You would desire to get back into schools. You would desire to get back out on the football field. But it's kind of like your kitchen's still burning. And until you can, get the fire down enough to safely re-enter and manage that flame, the possibility of an eruption is once again huge and dangerous. And I think that's kind of where we are. This fire, if you look at COVID-19 numbers, is pretty much raging. And whether it's raging in every state or not, that is definitely not accurate. I mean, it's raging in hot spots, oddly the term used, but you have to get it under control. And if it's out of control, it controls the outcome. That's the thing. Like, we don't, it does. Because everywhere and everything you read, the first thing that is looked after is the health and safety of the student athletes, the health and safety of the students, the health and safety. And in that scale of health and economics, when health outweighs the economics, it's going to win out. It will win out every single time until the economic side is being affected so much that you just have to kind of kick in the door. And then it'll flip-flop back and forth. I feel like it's I feel like we have afternoon economics lessons with Swanee here tomorrow on the show, The Law of Diminishing Returns. I'll teach you why that 15th hot dog doesn't taste as good as the second one on the show that shakes the Southland. I mean, that's kind of what it feels like some days. But it is. If you only knew how bad I was in economics. Well, I wasn't bad at economics. You know what I was terrible in? Ask anybody who was in my class. Accounting and finance. If I had to depreciate one more dump truck at $150,000 over 6 years, I'd have never graduated. All right, we hit a quick break, and we come back with more of the show that shakes the Southland. Stay with us.
Here's your chance to win $1,000. Text the nationwide keyword SMILE to 200-200. You'll get a confirmation text and info. Standard data and message rates apply in this nationwide contest. That's SMILE to 200-200.
Now, Columbia's most dependable traffic. Sponsored by Pope Davis Tire and Automotive. Home of the best tire prices in Columbia. Guaranteed. Fox Sports Radio 1400 traffic.
Traffic tie-ups this afternoon include I-77 southbound near the I-26 westbound split. Also some debris in the roadway. I-20 westbound near the Spears Creek Church Road exit. If you're stuck this afternoon, use the 103.5 FM WVOC traffic tip line 343-1055.
This report is sponsored by Stand Up to Cancer.
I'm Tony Goldwyn. 20 years ago, when my mom had lung cancer, she didn't have many choices. But today, you do. If you've been diagnosed with lung cancer, please visit standuptocancer.org/lungcancer to learn more.
Lawton Swan here, and I know in sports we're always talking about the big guy. Well, let me tell you, when you're buying a car, you don't need that. What you need to do is head down to Orangeburg to my good friends at Ferry Chevrolet Cadillac. 4 generations of family-owned business right there at Ferry Chevrolet. No dock fees, no tricks, straightforward pricing in a low-pressure environment you'll love. Check them out online, ferrychevrolet.com, or call them 803-536-1600. It's Ferry Chevrolet Cadillac, just a short 30-minute drive off of exit 145A in Orangeburg.
If you owe any money to the IRS, you need to call this toll-free number right now, 800-379-6450. That's 800-379-6450. Uncle Sam has the power to take everything you own. You could stop the collection process right now by calling 800-379-6450. When you call the tax support group, you get free information on how you can reduce or eliminate your back taxes, including penalties and interest. You could also be helped if you have unfiled returns, a tax lien, wage garnishment, bank levy, or if you have entered into a payment plan and can't make the payments. Stop Uncle Sam right now. This free call could help you today. 800-379-6450. That's 800-379-6450. 800-379-6450. 1-800-379-6450.
When a community grows, its hospital should grow too. And that's just what we're doing at Lexington Medical Center. We recently launched the largest hospital expansion project in South Carolina history. Our new 10-story patient tower will help us take better care of patients, including the tiniest infants who need special attention. It will also make room for the growing number of patients who need surgery and intensive care. At Lexington Medical Center, our mission to serve our community never wavers. We're here when you need us today, and we'll be there when you need us tomorrow.
Hey, is that a faucet running?
Nope, that's not a faucet. That's a river rushing through the forest.
It is?
Yeah, forest rivers provide over 100 million people with clean water to drink. The water comes straight from the forest to us. In fact...
What? I can't hear you because of the vacuum.
That's not a vacuum. That's the trees in the forest cleaning up the air we breathe.
How do trees clean the air?
They soak up the dirty air on their leaves, branches, and trunks, which means clean air for us.
Cool. I didn't know that.
Yep, but the forest does more than give us clean air and water. It gives us shade for hot days, birds to listen to, and trees to climb.
Wow, that's awesome. I didn't know how cool the forest could be. Hey, let's go explore some more.
Visit the forest today and enjoy all it does, just for you. To learn more about the forest and find one near you, go to discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Clemson Sports Talk. Join the show now at 978-1832 or text 803-450-0086.
Indeed, here in your car is where you can listen to the show that shakes the Southland, whether you are in the Midlands, the PD, or the Low Country. And no matter where you are on the iHeartRadio app, you can listen from 4 to 6 on Fox Sports Radio 1400, from 6 to 8 on Sports Radio 100.1 The Fan in Florence, out of Florence, and looking to be active over on social media as well as I try to keep up with the new format. I got a couple of things I'm still tweaking a little bit. Mr. Smash says, loves the show. He says, Clemson players still testing positives. My homie is one of them. He said, it's bad, bro. I hate it. You know, at this point, I think last Friday we got some pretty good news on that front. Again, Clemson didn't release whether it was football players or not, but just 6 additional people testing positive for COVID-19. I am anxious. It's almost like you just kind of wait to see what this thing ends up looking like on a week by week basis, because if you start to get some positive vibes on it, you think, okay, great for this team. What I think is so disappointing, Mr. Smash, more than anything, is the schools that aren't reporting data at all. Now look, this is completely different than reporting player X or player Y has COVID-19. That's something you couldn't do. But to hold back and not release the information of the players who are actively fighting COVID-19, I think is detrimental to the cause of getting out on the gridiron. And here's why. As scary as the numbers might have been when Clemson put out a big number a couple of weeks ago, and as much as that made people go, ooh, oh, kind of eyeballing this thing, at least you have some numbers and some ideas. It would be even better if they would say, hey, of our players on the team, 37% have tested positive and recovered from COVID-19. Well, now, in my head, I can go, oh, okay, well, 63% still could catch it. And maybe we still don't know. And this is the other thing that's bad about, COVID-19 and the newness of it all, is that we still aren't certain if people can get it again. And you would believe that in environments like this with players who are monitored and tested and contact traced and everything, that bubble that Clemson is able to present, you'd start to see some data pop up and go, oh, this guy, he tested positive for COVID-19 back in May, and now it's July and he's tested positive again. Like, those things would start to surface. So you got to know that these schools are keeping up with it for those reasons alone, and could ultimately be for the CDC and the government great areas of research for young people, especially in whether or not individuals do end up getting COVID-19 again. So that's a couple of little details on that front that I do bring up. But then also, if you got to the point where you're noticing, hey, there's no reoccurring issues, well, now, if you're talking to me, if you're like, well, there's no reoccurring issues, Swanee, and Clemson's had 85% of their players test positive, or 96% of their players test positive, and there's no reoccurring, all of a sudden, I think you're going, well, it might look like the football teams should be good to go. And if every school were reporting that, you might go, man, the entire Atlantic Coast Conference, there's X many players, and 98% of them have had COVID-19, recovered, and they haven't had anybody get it twice. Let's rock and roll college football. Maybe the fans can't come. I mean, the population numbers start to influence who's been sick with it, and this is a controlled, much more controlled environment than you or I are living in. So, to me, that would make more sense. And if I'm South Carolina or Florida or any other school in the country, I'm putting that data out right now. Like, there's nothing that you're not telling anything. You're not telling who. You're not telling who has it. You're telling how many have had it.
I guess that's your theory.
but it's a decent theory, because I think you could bring. I'm a guy that's cautious about it. I'm cautious about it. But if over a 3-month period prior to kickoff of the college football season, you could show me that 97% of the players have had it, nobody's had a reoccurrence and tested positive after they've gotten over the initial infection of COVID-19, wouldn't I all say, let's play. Seems like a no-brainer to have the players on the field at that point. But because you got so many schools out there, Mr. Smash, not telling us what their numbers look like, I have no idea if there are 100 infections over at school. And I certainly don't know what it looks like by the beginning of college football season. More transparency. You don't have to tell me who's got it. You don't have to tell anybody who's got it. But I don't see why you wouldn't tell how many. That to me makes no sense at all. 803-450-0086. That's your phone line. Leave us a message. That's your text line as well. You can participate with us on Facebook and on Twitter if you're watching the show there as well. Feel free to message us. We'll try to get to those comments momentarily. Again, your website, ClemsonSportsTalk.com. I hate so many of you missed our $17.76 July the 4th. We did an Independence Day getaway, so to speak, and we had a lot of people join. But I think the Tiger fans are going to really like the current rate, $63.17. Why? Because you can say that loud and proud, $63.17, to head over to our website and become a part of ClemsonSportsTalk.com as a premium subscriber. If you love this show, support this show, help us continue to grow. By the way, before we hit a quick break, if you're watching the show today, how's the feed looking? I mean, how are we, are we moving pretty normal? Do we look pretty good? Never text the show while you're driving. You know the rules here on the show that shakes the Southland. Well, as much as I like giving away things like these Clemson Sports Talk pins or the Clemson Sports Talk t-shirts or these limited edition footballs, I will tell you that the award list giveaways are continuing to roll on, and the Tigers had another one that popped up on the list today. We'll tell you who right after this.
A grand in your hand.
That would help out a ton.
Winner.
Amazing.
After winner.
This will be very helpful.
After winner.
Definitely keep me going until I hopefully go back to work soon.
You could be next.
This helps a lot.
Your chance to win $1,000 is coming up.
Listen for your cue to text on Fox Sports Radio 1400.
Hi, this is Kevin Hunter with Simplified Office Systems. We're here to help you with your home office. Whether you need a large multifunction device or something simple to sit on your desk, we can help with that. We offer products and strategies from HP. We also, with every product, give you remote support, troubleshooting, setup support, whatever you need, we are here to help. We can even put a Clemson logo on that new copy. Contact us by visiting mysimplifiedoffice.com or call us at 888-914-7476. Stay safe, stay strong.
When you get in your car, you need the best directions to get where you want to be.
Will arrive at your retirement in 8
The
years.
same is true for your retirement. You need a voice to guide you along the way. Join Pat Struby for Save Your Retirement with Pat Struby. Pat's 18 years of experience can help make your retirement journey feel like a drive down easy street.
Arriving at your retirement.
Saturdays, 6 a.m. on Fox Sports Radio, and Saturdays at noon and Sundays at 9 on 560 WVOC for Save Your Retirement with Pat Struby.
Clear tonight with lows in the mid-70s. Tomorrow, sunny, hot, and sticky. Highs mid-90s. For Channel 25 ABC Columbia, I'm Chief Meteorologist John Farley.
This report is sponsored by the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation. The Crohn's and Colitis Foundation has been at the forefront of inflammatory bowel disease research and care for over 50 years. Learn more about research, education, and support at Crohn'sColitisFoundation.org.
Hey America, we need to have a little talk. I don't know if you've noticed, but we got a lot of food in this country. A lot of peaches, a lot of corn, a lot of apples, a lot of everything. We've got so much food that we can't even eat it all. So if we got all this extra food, how are 17 million kids in America struggling with hunger? I just don't get it. That's why the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks gathers surplus food and gets it to the hungry kids who need it. They can get you food even if you live in Idaho or Alaska or somewhere crazy like that. This isn't complicated. We got extra food and we've got hungry kids. Feeding America's done the math. Now it's your turn. Support Feeding America and your local food bank at feedingamerica.org. I know you got internet on your phone, so what are you waiting for? We can't do it without your help. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
You don't usually get a stock tip from a 16-year-old, but I'm here to tell you about a different kind of stock. It's called Better Futures, a stock for social change that's not about making money. Instead, you invest to help students like me go to college. This is beyond a simple donation. It's the opportunity for America to invest in its kids and take an active stake in the future of the country. The return on your investment isn't money. What you get back is knowing you protected our potential. So one day, that potential can grow up to become surgeons and architects, executives and engineers, people who can change the future just by being a part of it. My name is Alicia, and I'm your dividend.
Invest in better futures with UNCF. Visit uncf.org/invest. A mind is a terrible thing to waste, but a wonderful thing to invest in. A public service announcement brought to you by UNCF and the Ad Council.
Want to hit a home run with your smart speaker? Alexa, play Fox Sports Radio 1400 on iHeartRadio.
That sounds like a pretty good choice to me.
Back at it on a Wednesday afternoon, Lawton Swan, the show that shakes the Southland, Clemson Sports Talk. And as you all know, I hope you're doing very well. And we've gotten so many messages here today on the program. And I'm still trying to adjust to a new format, but we're rocking and rolling. I saw Edward sent me a message earlier. And so, Edward, I don't know where that message came. I don't know if it was a text. I'll try to get into those soon as well. Lee, thank you for checking out the program. She says you made some good points. It's not often, Lee. A lot of people will tell you that, but I'm trying here. It is, it's crazy because when this thing kicked off, when COVID-19 sort of kicked off, everybody's like, well, all you radio guys are gonna have to earn your money now because there's no live sports to deal with. And I quickly realized that the reality is there's so much more to talk about. I mean, honestly, and I know you're going, what do you mean there's more to talk about? There would be games to discuss, this, that, and the other. Yeah, but during this time of the year, on a show like this, I'm telling you, a lot of times, man, the topics are slim. I mean, college baseball would be over with. You'd have Major League Baseball going on. Not much else at this point. And everybody would want to turn their attention to college football and the ACC kickoff, but you'd still kind of be in a holding pattern waiting for that to happen next week. And even though it's not going to happen now, I mean, this is, and I don't think we knew this in March, this is the single biggest story in our lifetime. I mean, I really believe it is. And I saw somebody over on Periscope post, it's a hoax, not real. People have the right to believe what they want to believe. I'm never gonna disparage anybody for their beliefs. I may have given a little grief back in the day to Kyrie Irving being a flat earther, and I guess technically didn't Sammy Watkins say the same. I don't know if these guys are being serious or not on that front, but people can believe what they want to believe. But I don't feel like individuals in positions of power at all levels are influenced by something that's fake or a hoax. I just don't feel that way. I absolutely don't. Like, I think that these guys would go, yeah, you know what? Something seems fishy. Like the people in power would say something seems fishy. And the people in power go, man, I don't think we're going to be able to play football. That should scare you. That should bother you. Edwards says, in his opinion, he thinks July the 28th that Peyton Page will commit to the Tigers. He said, I got a gut feeling that Corey Foreman comes back. He says, I don't know about Jordan Hancock. Sounds like he's eyeing Ohio State. He says, always if and when we can get through this COVID stuff, if the kids can get back on campus, I think we rack them back up. Stay safe and healthy. Respect, love, and go Tigers. You're all over it, Edward. I mean, you're all over it. Now, look, from the standpoint of what happens with Peyton Page, I think my hunch is kind of the same as yours. I felt like all along he feels like kind of that next Dexter Lawrence type kid from the first time I saw him. I mean, guys don't roll into Clemson and you look at them and go, ooh, that's a kid that looks like he could play today. Dexter Lawrence had that look. Peyton Page has that look. Corey Foreman. And we'll talk with Chris Landry about this coming up in hour number 2, LandryFootball.com, if you're not familiar. Former recruiting coordinator at LSU, worked in the industry for many years. I mean, this is a guy that watches players on film from high school to college and on into the pros. He slices them and dices them up like nobody's business. I mean, he knows the ins and the outs of the recruiting game, the relationships, the players, the coaches, the staffs. Chris Landry joins us in hour number 2, and we'll get his thoughts on some of these things for sure. But, Corey Foreman, what's weird about what's happened with that, to me, is, he decommitted initially. This is the number 1 player in the 2021 class. Decommits from Clemson. And the lingering thought was really that, okay, this guy is the number one player, wants to take a look around, get a chance to go on his visits. He's out of Corona, California, Centennial High School. And I think to a person, people went, I certainly did. I went, yeah, you know what? I get that. Like, I can almost I have more respect, honestly, for a kid, even if he committed and said, hey, coach, I'm all in. I'm not going to, I'm with you guys 110%. I have more respect for a kid that's willing to say, hey, you know what, coach? Because when you're 17 or 18 years old, one of the toughest things to do is admit that you made a mistake. Is to look somebody else square in the eye and say, I like what you guys have going on, but I really think I want to take my visits. That it takes some guts to look a man that makes $8-9 million a year in the face and say, and he wants you to come play this football program and say, you know what, coach, I want to just see what else is out there. It takes a lot of guts. And Foreman did that. But the issue now potentially is with COVID-19 and the way things are set up, I mean, there's a legitimate chance that he doesn't get to take the visits that he's desiring or desired when he decommitted from Clemson, which on his recruiting front, I don't think Clemson's by any means out. And as a matter of fact, the same reason, I think that the same reason that you see a kid like Jordan Hancock potentially flip towards Ohio State because of their defensive back pedigree. It's not that Clemson's a slim either, by the way. I mean, it's not like Clemson's got bad defensive back play at all. But that reasoning alone could be another reason why, if you're Foreman, you look at Clemson and go, man, look at what they've done in terms of putting players in the NFL. Look at how disruptive their defensive line play is. Look at what the Tigers have been able to do. So from that standpoint, I think you're favorable, even with the cross-country distance. 803-450-0086. I told you I'd tell you about another Clemson name on a watch list in the last segment. I didn't. I owe you an apology. We'll pay that off for you when we get back. Stay with us here on the show that shakes the Southland. Shakes the Southland.
Tiger fans, look no further than the Tiger Sports Shop in Clemson for all your game day needs. Since 1974, they've brought you everything Clemson for the Clemson fan. With quality brands such as Nike, Antigua, Cutter & Buck, and Champion, plus many more, from hats to t-shirts to tailgate, the Tiger Sports Shop has all the Clemson gear a true Tiger fan needs. With 2 convenient game day locations in Tigertown, shop where I shop at Dr. I.M. Ibrahim's Tiger Sports Shop. They fuel the passion of Tiger fans everywhere. Check them out online, tigersports.com.
Big news! David Horowitz's new book, Blitz, just hit the New York Times bestseller list. Blitz reveals the real agenda of Antifa and the secret billionaires out to stop President Trump. Mike Huckabee says if everyone read Blitz, Trump would win. You've seen David Horowitz on Newsmax TV. He predicts more attacks on Trump this summer. Get David Horowitz's new bestseller, Blitz, at bookstores. Or get the free offer and save $28. Call 800-NEWSMAX or go to blitz411.com. That's blitz411.com.
Napa know-how. Get all the quality parts you need at your locally owned Napa. Because right now, when you order from Napa online, you can pick up curbside at your local store in just 30 minutes. Or get your order delivered direct to your door with free one-day shipping on over 160,000 quality parts when you spend $50 or more. Quality parts delivered quickly and safely. That's Napa know-how.
Napa know-how.
At participating stores, standard ground shipping and exclusions apply.
iHeartRadio is the #1 choice for music, radio, and podcasts, all in one. No one makes it easier to hear everything you love in one free app.
I'm so done with using a bunch of apps.
iHeart has it all.
All right there together in one place.
Radio.
Podcasts.
Got all the music.
I think that's my favorite thing.
You get it all on the app.
No other app gives you the all-in-one experience.
All free.
If you're not one of the tens of millions who have the app, download iHeartRadio for free today and start listening.
iHeartRadio. When I was little, I didn't talk for a long time. I liked things to always be the same. Anything new or different would scare and upset me. I was very sensitive to lights and sounds. It was almost like I had bigger eyes and ears than everyone else. So I built secret hiding places where nothing could get in. I didn't like looking people in the eye. It made me feel uncomfortable. I'd throw big tantrums over little things like when my socks didn't match. Sometimes I'd do the same things over and over. Until one day, I found out I had autism. My family got me help. Slowly, I learned how to live with it better.
You can see signs of autism in children as young as 18 months. Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org/signs. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
More than 8,000 children in South Carolina need a caring adult to serve as their voice in family court. The time guardian ad litem volunteers spend investing in these children can change their lives forever. To volunteer, you must be 21 years old, able to pass a background check, and passionate about serving children. Become a guardian ad litem volunteer today and make a difference for tomorrow. For more information on how you can help, visit scgal.org. That's scgal.org.
Mothers Against Drunk Driving supports victims of drunk driving, drug driving, and underage drinking at no charge. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org. That's MADD.org.
Fox Sports Radio 1400. Online at foxsportsradio1400.com. On your phone with the iHeartRadio app and on hundreds of devices like Alexa, Google Home, Xbox, and Sonos. An iHeartRadio station.
Clemson Sports Talk, Lawton Swan, Wednesday afternoon, The People's Show. And if you did not know, huge wrestling fan here. Huge. Woo! Yes. Ha, indeed. All right, Callie chimes into the program. She says, the coronavirus is real. I had it. Callie also wants to know if I had to give a percentage on college football being played in the fall, what would that be? I'll get to that momentarily at this point. And again, Callie, before I even get there, your guess would be as good as mine, really. I mean, honestly. The awards watch lists are now taking place. It's kind of funny because it's literally like every day there's going to be one for the next 15 days or something. Yesterday, of course, it was Trevor Lawrence named to the Davey O'Brien Award watch list for the best quarterback in the country. Prior to that, it was the Bednarik watch list for James Skalski. Love the fact that Skalski's getting recognized for an award like that. Well, today, the Doak Walker Award watch list comes out. Of course, the Doak Walker Award goes to the best running back in the country. I'll spare you the figuring out who it is. Travis Etienne, your Clemson Tiger representative on this list. Again, some other big names out there. Jonathan Taylor last year won the award from Wisconsin. This year, of course, with Taylor moving on to the NFL, perhaps the favorite outside of – actually, let me think about this. Yeah, perhaps the favorite outside of Travis Etienne might be Chuba Hubbard at Oklahoma State. I mean, Hubbard rushed for over 2,000 yards a year ago. Certainly, Travis Etienne is one of the big names in college football at running back. But, I think as much as the Heisman Trophy may come down to Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields, I think this is a similar award in that, yeah, there are a lot of names that could potentially challenge to be on that list at the end of the year. But I think that the reality of, who Travis Etienne is, the national scale that he would be able to play on would lead you to believe that he's got a great chance to really make a run at the Doak Walker Award this year. And I've said all along, I think if Clemson wins the national title this past season, I don't think Travis Etienne's your running back right now. And I think much like a couple of years ago, you saw Cleveland Farrell, Austin Bryant, and Christian Wilkins all return. There is something to be said for walking away from the sport that you love collegiately with the confetti falling on your head in your colors and not the opponent's. And Etienne is a guy who is not one day, never has come across as a me first guy. Not once. And even though, sometimes with draft classes, it can be very, it's very fluid as to where a running back would go. They're not as coveted as they once were in a day and age where it was a ground and pound the football mentality. You got to be better at catching the ball in the backfield. You got to be better in pass protection. And if you look at Etienne throughout his career at Clemson, what has he done? Continued to improve. Continue to get better. And I think this will be another year where, man, if you go back and you think about Travis Etienne and that matchup against Ohio State in the Fiesta Bowl, what he was able to do catching the football out of the backfield, the versatile weapon that he can be, you would believe if there's a college football season this year and Clemson's playing, Etienne is going to be a feature of that, not just in the run game, but also in the passing game. It's also nice that Clemson's got a lot of other good running backs in the stable as well. A lot of other guys that can put out there and allow those individuals to showcase their skill set. As for Callie's question, if I had to give a percentage on football being played in the fall, and see, that's a different question, and I appreciate that too, Callie, because that is a much different question on if there's going to be football played. If you said, is there going to be football played in the fall, to me, on what is 2020's version of Tax Day, July the 15th, because they backed that thing up 3 months. I'm at like 25%, Callie. Maybe 20. I can't go much greater than that right now. I mean, you're going to have to show me something outside of just hope. Like, you got to show me some tangible data that makes me feel like when the decision makers look at it, they're going to go, you know what? The numbers aren't so bad. Like, that's the thing. If we had the numbers from the number of players that had it, no reoccurrences, like if you had that from coast to coast, and maybe that'll be something that will be encouraging for us because you would like to believe that all these schools are tracking it. I would like to think that before August the 15th, we start to get some kind of list that says, hey, at Clemson, 88% of the players have already had COVID-19 and there have been no reoccurrences. Then, Callie, when you talk to me on the show, I'll go, hey, you know what? Hearing what we hear across the country, and you got to know everybody. It can't be just one little pocket like, oh, we know Clemson and we know what's going on at Clemson and App State. Bull butter. I need to know what's going on everywhere. You give us that, and I can give you a game. I can't give you fans in the stadiums, but I could give you a game. But until that point, until we cross that bridge, Callie, I'm like 25%, maybe less. Edward wants to know if it was tough to get over COVID-19. I've seen a lot of people, more and more people testing positive. I saw one of my buddies say, man, I'm 43 years old. I've never known anybody to die from the flu. I've known 3 people to die from COVID-19. I've been very fortunate. I haven't known anybody that's died from it, but I have certainly known a lot of people who are now getting it and have been infected by it. And it's not fun. I can tell you that from my conversations with a lot of people. So I'll let Callie in Facebook. We got the top of the hour break coming up here on the show that shakes the Southland. If you are a fan of the program on Wednesdays, you know what that means. Hour number 2, Chris Landry, Landry Football on Twitter, LandryFootball.com, joins us to chat it up. We'll hop out to the phone lines with Chris right after this.
Clemson Sports Talk with Lawton Swan on Columbia's home for sports, Fox Sports Radio 1400. Now, Columbia's most dependable traffic, sponsored by Pope Davis Tire and Automotive, home of the best tire prices in Columbia, guaranteed. Fox Sports Radio 1400 traffic.
Traffic tie-ups this afternoon include I-77 southbound near the I-26 westbound split. Also, some debris in the roadway. I-20 westbound near the Spears Creek Church Road exit. If you're stuck this afternoon, use the 103.5 FM WVOC traffic tip line 343-1055.
This report is sponsored by attorney Bill Green and the Green Team.
Joins us, Chris.
If you're in a wreck, you have enough to deal with these days. Call the Bill Green Law Firm. We're here to help.
Chris, man, hope you've had a great...
2821 Millwood Avenue, Columbia, South
Sports
Carolina.
talking on a Wednesday afternoon. You're getting accustomed to it and keep it up because he'll be here with us, Chris Landry.
Johnson & Johnson's
Landry.
powder and shower-to-shower
Chris Landry
products have been linked to ovarian cancer. In February and May 2016, Johnson & Johnson was ordered to pay $72 million and $55 million by 2 juries to 2 women who contracted ovarian cancer after years of using talcum baby powder products. If you or a family member has been diagnosed with ovarian cancer and used talcum powder prior to the diagnosis, call Talcum Powder Help Now today at 800-833-0112. You may be entitled to substantial compensation. The consultation is free and you'll pay nothing unless there is a recovery in your favor. Don't fight this alone. If you or a loved one used talcum baby powder-based products before being diagnosed or died from ovarian cancer, call Talcum Powder Help Now at 800-833-0112. 800-833-0112. 800-833-0112.
Paid for by Bar Justice.
At AAA Heating and Air, get an instant manufacturer's rebate of $1,500 plus 0% financing for qualified applicants and a 15-year parts and labor warranty. Call 677-1500 today.
AAA Air when you need us. AAA Heating and Air.
Hi, I'm Alicia Kaufman-Quinton. My daddy, Billy Kaufman, opened Kaufman's Meat Plant at our present location in 1955. My family still works hard every day to ensure fresh quality cuts of beef, pork, and poultry. How about a tasty T-bone, ribeye, or New York strip steak? But to order at Kaufman's Meat Place, just look for the signs near the intersection of US 1 and I-20 in Lexington. Call us at 356-0076 to place your order. Kaufman's Meat Place, when you want the very best your money can buy.
They'll challenge your authority. They'll try to break your will. They'll push you to the edge of your sanity. Because that's what kids do. But this car is your territory, not theirs. Defend it. Who makes the payments? Who cleans it? Who drives it? You do. That's who. And in here, your word is law. So when you say you won't move until everyone's buckled up, you won't budge an inch. Until you hear that click. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. For more information, visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup.
When I was little, I didn't talk for a long time. I was sensitive to lights and sounds, so I built secret hiding places where they couldn't get in. Sometimes I did the same things over and over, until one day I found out I had autism. My family got me help. Slowly, I learned how to live with it better.
Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org/signs. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
Fox Sports Radio 1400, WCOS Columbia, an iHeart radio station.
It's time for Clemson Sports Talk with Lawton Swan.
Ready, set. Just call me Swanee.
Tiger style. Tiger style.
It is hour number 2. That's drop time right here on the show that shakes the Southland. Clemson Sports Talk. Lawton Swan with you each and every afternoon as you make your way around the great state of South Carolina and beyond. And, of course, on the program today, joining us, our good buddy, Chris Landry, coming up here and having a good time with you. We'll rock and roll with that interview right here. It is the show that shakes the Southland. Clemson Sports Talking on a Wednesday afternoon. You're getting accustomed to it, and keep it up because he'll be here with us. Chris Landry, LandryFootball.com, joins us. Chris, man, hope you've had a great week. How are you, bud?
I'm doing good, man. We're just kind of rolling through the summer and hope we're going to have some good news, but like everybody else, just waiting.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And then, of course, I know a lot of people are anticipating our new show, the ACC Tailgate, where we'll get a chance to chat it up about the Atlantic Coast Conference and everything else going on in the world of college sports and your podcast network, man. It should be a lot of fun getting that thing fired up.
Well, we're so honored to have you and Ingram and going to be the great folks and your fan base out there in Clemson and Florida, throughout the entire ACC. You guys are going to just kill it. We're really excited. It's all going to be on Twitch TV. You can watch Ingram, that handsome face, that handsome devil of Ingram and Lawton. You're going to be able to watch those guys, listen to them, talk ACC bubble. We've got a lot of things planned. We've got all the conferences covered, working on a couple of other shows as well. We're going to have recruiting shows couple of days a week. We're going to have a high school football show on Fridays. We're going to have fantasy shows for the fantasy goers, NFL shows. We're going to have programming, mostly live programming throughout the day, and what is not live will run repeats of some of the best of. So we're going to have 24-hour television football on the twitch.tv/Chris Landry football channel. We've got it up already. We've got a few going. As you know, the SEC one's going. You guys get up. The Big 10 and the Big 12 start next week. So we're rocking and rolling, man.
Yeah, speaking of rocking and rolling, we're all hoping that college football will get there this past week. The Big 10, the Pac-12 deciding that they're just going to play conference-only games. You're a guy that's worked in the industry for many years. I don't think any of us ever thought we'd kind of cross this bridge back in March, but that's where we are now. What do you think are the long-term ramifications for this season with rulings and decisions made like that?
I still think it's very iffy. I don't think anyone should take the signs of, we're going to play a conference schedule in the Big 10 and the Pac-12 as they're definitely going to play it. That's just the best case scenario. Obviously, ACC, SEC, Big 12 taken a little bit differently. They're trying to look at the possibility of, waiting to the end of the month, trying to see if they can't play some of their early games. If not, maybe combine some scheduling. For example, the ACC and the SEC might say we're going to do something in a slightly modified way. We'll play conference schedule, but maybe Clemson and South Carolina will play. Maybe Georgia and Georgia Tech will play. Maybe Florida and Florida State can play. Those games are later in the year. We don't know what the situation will be, but we may try to play those games, or they may not. I mean, that's kind of what they're trying to decide logistically. I think we're at the point, Lawton, where it's so late in the process, we just don't have much time. And I think it might have been Greg Sankey of the SEC, I'm not sure, that basically said, we can be optimistic and talk optimistically, but the reality is things are going to have to get better. It doesn't look good right now. The difficulty and the thing that I have a hard time understanding that I can't get the real good answer from medical people is if we've got to prevent this from spreading, then and from a sports standpoint, we've got to do like I guess what they're trying to do at the NBA, create a bubble, meaning or like what they're doing on the PGA Tour golf. You go outside the bubble. A caddy has to go home. He has to go through a protocol before he gets back in the bubble. You're going to have to do that with every college program, or else it's not going to work. We can start it all we want. We can plan it all we want, but it's going to spread if we don't keep them in a bubble. What does that really mean? I think they have to look seriously at players are going to have to be housed in a central location. Trainers, equipment men, coaches, everybody involved are going to have to be there. They're going to have to, in that bubble, eat and sleep and, work out and have their classes online. Anything other than that, I don't know how you're going to prevent this from spreading. And if it spreads, then you got, the people that are infected that are out 2 weeks and then, who's asymptomatic. I mean, it's just going to be a long season in a short time frame to try to get everything done. I just don't know how you do it if you listen to the medical folks of how we control this. You get the other thing of, well, they're great athletes and they're young, so it's not going to affect them. We don't know that. Medical people don't know that. This hasn't been around long enough to study it. We know that older people and sickly people are more negatively affected, but from this standpoint, if you've got your let's just call it a top level player on your team, if he's at the very least hit hard with this, he may not have long-term effects, although we don't know that because there's no long-term study. It hadn't been around long enough. But, what if it saps his energy? And we got people that are in their 20s that are in good health that for 2 months are just exhausted and can't. Well, if you have somebody like that, it's probably would be similar to like mono, where you've got no ability, no energy level. Well, you could take a great player and he might be fine, but he might not be able to perform anywhere near his capability. So there's just a lot of unanswered questions. I'm trying to be positive, but I'm also realistic. And I think mentally we probably all as fans need to look at it and prepare ourselves emotionally that there's a good chance we're not going to have a football season. And let's hope and pray that we do. So anything that's positive would just be a big bonus for us, because right now I think those that are thinking, oh, we're going to do it, they're going to figure out a way, I think they're just kidding themselves, because it might happen. There's probably a better than 50-50 chance that it won't at this point.
Not the great answer that everybody wanted to hear, but perhaps a reality from Chris Landry here on Clemson Sports Talk this afternoon. And Chris, from that standpoint, yesterday, I don't know if you followed this at all, but yesterday afternoon, Clemson apparently had a decommit in Jordan Hancock, and that hasn't been made public yet, but word on the street is he's a young man that's now potentially eyeballing the Ohio State Buckeyes. And I have to wonder, and I talked about this a little earlier in the show, so I'll get your opinion, has the effects of COVID-19 perhaps started to hit, on the recruiting trail, in the sense that Clemson's known for being a place where kids say, oh, it felt like home, love the environment, but they haven't been able to get back. They haven't been able to visit. They really haven't been able to massage those relationships, so to speak. You're a former recruiting coordinator at the, Power 5 level. What are your thoughts on that conversation at this point?
Well, I think what's happened, and it's been happening all spring, we've had no normal recruiting cycle for this 2021 class. So no coaches are out there visiting kids at their school. You can't go into the homes. Kids can't come visit you, although there are some cases where kids can go to a campus, like with their families. They can't go officially. They can't meet with the coaches, but if you're allowed to go on a campus and you can get on campus, you can go look at it. Other than that, you've got no real identity with the school. You can't take your visit. So what is happening, we have got about a 20% increase in commitments to this point, comparatively speaking, to last year. So a lot more kids are committing. Now, most people are saying, well, that doesn't make sense, because if they haven't visited, they're not going to know where they're going to go, and you got to visit. Well, they're starting to realize they may not be able to visit and where their options. So the schools are trying to say, we've got an offer for you, but we can't hold it. So kids are having to make their mind off of just getting to know these coaches virtually. And a lot of them are making their commitments because, bird in the hand's better than two in the bush. But here's what I think this is going to mean. I think from here to the rest of the fall, depending on whether we can open up enough for kids to take visits or not, you're going to have a lot of kids that are changing their mind. So, for example, a school like in Alabama, Clemson's got some commitments. Ohio State's got a ton. Alabama is just starting to pick up. Why? Alabama's been slow to offer. Why? Because they haven't been able to see the kids as much. They wanted to see them for camps, so like they normally do.
Right.
So they've been slow to offer. Now that started to, be out of the mix this year. Now they're starting to get guys. So I wonder if certain schools who have got commitments that maybe from really good players don't think when you start to, hey man, Tennessee's ranked here. Don't put too much into that because those rankings will change because we're going to have with commitments and kids going somewhere else. So it could be a Clemson going to Ohio State. It could be Ohio State kid going somewhere else, or just it could be, 3 or 4 kids from a Tennessee or, someplace going to an Alabama. We're going to see a lot of that. So when the dust settles in December and they sign, that's when we're going to know, because I don't know if we're going to be able to open it up to where these kids are going to be able to go on campus. And we don't know if they're going to allow kids to go to games this year, even if we have games. I mean, these are a lot of things that maybe are secondary issues we got to deal with before, we get to this point. But we got to get to the point where we know their games.
At Landry Football on Twitter, Chris Landry on the show that shakes the Southland this week. And Chris, that begs the next question, which is, I guess, eerily similar. If you look at the number one player in the country in the 2021 class, Corey Foreman, out of the state of California, the big-time defensive end prospect. If you talk about that kid for a minute and the reason he decommitted from Clemson just a couple of months ago, it was about taking those visits. If those visits for a guy like Foreman never materialize, would you suggest that may be actually beneficial for Clemson from that standpoint, since they've been the place that he was previously committed? Or do you think that perhaps maybe the comfort zone of staying at home ends up being a bigger factor and perhaps he stays in the state of California at Southern Cal?
I don't know. I think that maybe staying at home's still maybe a stronger possibility. I know this. I know Clemson still feels pretty good about him. LSU feels like they're in great shape to get him. But if I were just looking at it generically, without knowing the young man well enough to know what he would likely do on this, you might think, okay, has more familiarity with the school at home. That might be a key deciding factor. But
right.
We don't know. Individually, a kid, it may be the case universally. Maybe 7 out of 10 would think that, but maybe he's one of the 3 that maybe, it's just on field. I do think, look, it's like anything. It's improvising, and coaches are going to have to sell what they have virtually. And I think it hurts everyone to not have their kid on campus, because I think that's where you can really sell it. So on one hand, it's an even issue in terms of, does anybody have an advantage? Everybody's at a disadvantage. But I do think at a place like Clemson, where you kind of need to go there to feel it, to see it, it's probably a good thing. But then you don't know about this kid. What if he goes over there and says, "Boy, I love all the people. Man, it's small. I'm from big city." You don't know. He might say, "Man, I don't want to go over there," because Clemson's a great place, but it's different, and every place is unique. So we'll never know, quite frankly. But I think Dabo and that staff will tell you they love to have him on campus, and they feel like their chances are a lot better if you can get him on campus and look at him eye to eye, and get that feeling that, that family atmosphere that's there. I think that they'd love to have that more than anything.
It is the single most unique time in our sports history, following college football for many, many years. Myself, Chris Landry, we've never seen anything like this. And Chris, you talked about what it could look like down the line, and we really don't know. The virus probably has more control over that, certainly, than the humans at this point. From that standpoint, though, when we get around to it, shortened season, bigger college football playoff, would you be in favor of something like that? Or You know, I'm just assuming here that we're going to compete in some ways. What would you do to maybe enhance it for fans? Final question for you.
How about this as a possibility? You know what drives every one of all those decisions, don't you? Cha-ching, 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 money. We're losing a lot of money. I don't know that this is what they want to do. I'm not saying that's what they should do necessarily. But if there's ever a scenario where they sit around the table and say, what can we do to recoup some money? This would be the perfect year with maybe a lot more uncertainty about, you know, looking at different schools and, you know, not, you know, a lot of imbalance in schedules. It might be the ideal time if you wanted to say, we're going to have a larger playoff and just say, hey, we're only doing it 1 year. But see how it works and try to sell that.
Yeah.
If things get better, and sell that as to bring some extra revenue in. And then you can always modify your agreement if you want to go back to the one that was there. You wouldn't, you know, I'm sure people are going to try to hold you to it, but you know, money always drives it. That's one way to bring money. So I don't know that there's anything to that, but it's something that comes through my mind is something that they might think about.
It feels a lot like preseason sports where you just kind of get a chance to test a new, you know, test a different lane or a different 3-point length. That's really what it feels like. Chris, all the best to you, my man. I appreciate you joining us each and every Wednesday and looking forward to the ACC tailgate kicking off, and I hope you have a great week.
You do the same, man. I really appreciate you.
There he is, Chris Landry, here on the show that shakes the Southland. And, you know, that the ACC tailgate, that's a new little podcast I'm going to be a part of. I say little, pretty big. Starting off spot for us with Landry football, and looking forward to doing those a couple of times a week and bringing a unique perspective to the Atlantic Coast Conference and this league as a whole as we, you know, kind of sit here in the midst of the most unique and strange times in our history, and just trying to figure it all out. Kind of, you know, it can feel at times discouraging and frustrating, and I think we all recognize that. But the reality of the future of sports, I think, still is very good. The immediate future may not be. We'll have all the answers, but we're going to continue to try to figure them out for you as best we can. You can text the program, 803-450-0086, never while you're driving. You can also hit us up on Periscope, chat with us over there. I'm working to figure out how to integrate this whole chat concept. It's a little different than I had thought, as we are rocking and rolling on a new format for at least a month now, because I paid for a month. So we're going to see how it goes. You can determine what it looks like henceforth. But we can also see your chats over on Facebook as well. We've had a lot of people chiming in and dropping up and stopping by and leaving us messages and giving us their thoughts on everything that we've got into here on the program today. A text message did come through just a little bit ago from our good buddy HR. We'll get to that coming up here on the program in just a few minutes. Plus, again, in the midst of the coronavirus, another professional athlete picks up a major, big-time deal. We'll tell you who that was coming up here in just a little bit. And again, it is something that has seemingly withstood so far the coronavirus is the amount of money being poured in to a lot of these athletes. So it's incredible on the professional level that even given the absence of the sport at this point, we've seen it affect coaches collegiately. We've seen it affect athletic staffs collegiately. We've seen it affect athletic programs collegiately. At what point do we begin to see the effects of COVID-19 professionally? The reality is, so far, we really haven't. Professional athletes have been fairly unscathed by this pandemic in the United States of America and globally. I think if you look at soccer globally, will that be the trend that continues? We come back with HR's comments, and we'll dive into a new player in the $50 million range in the NFL. Stay with us. Stay with us.
Here's your chance to win $1,000. $1,000. Text the nationwide keyword money to 200-200. You'll get a confirmation text and info. Standard data and message rates apply in this nationwide contest. That's money to 200-200. $1,000 in your hand.
That would help out a ton.
Winner.
Amazing.
After winner.
This will be very helpful.
After winner.
Definitely keep me going until I hopefully go back to work soon.
You could be next.
This helps a lot.
Your chance to win $1,000 is coming up.
Listen for your cue to text on Fox Sports Radio 1400. Now, Columbia's most dependable traffic, sponsored by Pope Davis Tire and Automotive, home of the best tire prices in Columbia, guaranteed. Fox Sports Radio 1400 traffic.
Traffic tie-ups this afternoon, I-26 westbound at the Dixiana exit. Also an accident, Garner's Ferry at Claremont. I'm Rob Sanders. You can reach out to me if you're stuck on the 103.5 FM WVOC traffic tip line 343-1055.
This report is sponsored by the Ad Council. Okay, dads, it's time to do the Cabbage Patch, the Running Man, or something more contemporary, the Floss. That's right, dance like a dad with your kids. Learn more at fatherhood.gov.
For 28 years, the professional staff of the Hobbs Group and Hobbs Group Advisors has been dedicated to helping others achieve their financial goals by delivering quality, objective financial and accounting solutions to a diverse client base of individuals and businesses all over South Carolina. We offer tax and audit services, bookkeeping, payroll, litigation support, employee benefits, personal financial planning, investment management, and insurance services. Please call us at 803-799-0555 or visit our website, hobbscpa.com, to learn more about our people and services.
At Stanley Martin Homes, your life is our blueprint. For over 53 years, Stanley Martin has been building homes to fit your lifestyle. Visit any of our local models for a self-guided tour or schedule a personal appointment with one of our neighborhood sales managers. Summertime is the best time for moving into your new Stanley Martin home. And now you can design your house with the click of a mouse online at stanleymartin.com. An equal housing opportunity.
Progressive's Home Quote Explorer is changing the way you buy home insurance. Now you can go online, get a custom quote, and save both time and money. Learn more at progressive.com. That's progressive.com.
Ever had that small crack in your windshield that turned into a very large crack overnight? Hi, I'm Ray.
And I'm Mary Ann, and we're with Absolute Glass.
We are your only local high-end auto glass specialist in the Midlands, used by high-end car dealerships. And we absolutely have you covered.
Whether it's a small or big crack, you could be confident in our certified technicians to get the job done right the first time.
Visit AbsoluteGlassInc.com for a quote or call 951-7200.
That's AbsoluteGlassInc.com or 951-7200.
You can save money and help the environment without taking a vow of poverty. How does that work? Well, by choosing Energy Star qualified lighting for your home. When you do, you'll become part of a growing national movement. Just go to EnergyStar.gov and click on Take the Change a Light Pledge. It takes only a few short seconds for you to have a long-term impact. Brighten your environmental future. From the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency.
Sensory sensitivity, repetitious behavior, lack of eye contact. You can see signs of autism in children as young as 18 months. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org/signs. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
Looking for South Carolina's favorite country? You'll find it at 97.5 WCOS.
Clemson Sports Talk on a Wednesday, the show that shakes the Southland. Lawton Swan hanging out with you. And again, the website, ClemsonSportsTalk.com. I know that so many of you out there are hoping for a college football season and determined that we're going to get back after it. I saw another poster, I think it was Sage over on Twitter, said that he's 41 and had COVID. He said, man, it about killed me. So again, I think for a lot of people, if you are unfortunate, I think that's the right terminology to use. If you are unfortunate enough to end up catching COVID-19. I think the awareness and conversations about what it could look like and feel like are starting to filter in as more people are really talking about it and focusing on it and getting the word out there. We're putting up a poll question right now. One of the things I'm excited about moving back to the way we're doing the show is the potential to put some questions up for you. So this question, the poll question, which freshman defensive lineman are you most ready to see play? Brian Brzee, DeMonte Capehart, or Miles Murphy? So we'll get that poll question up for you here shortly so that you can let us know what you think. I'll give you my thoughts on it coming up here in just a little bit. But I promised you the text message from HR just a few minutes ago. He said, we were talking about recruiting earlier, and we were talking about Clemson from the standpoint of the limitations, the magic, the things that sell for Clemson, I think have taken them back to a degree. Because of COVID-19, the authentic nature of Clemson's approach has been, I think the best word is stymied by the limitations that technology have on coaches. Like I don't sell cars for a living, okay? But I got to imagine if I did sell cars for a living, it's easier to sell them face-to-face than it is to just sell them over the internet. I don't think our friends down at Ferry Chevrolet Cadillac have a lot of trouble selling vehicles face-to-face. It's got to be tough to convince people through a little lens like I'm looking at right now that you're honest, that you're forthright. Like you're here with me 2 hours a day, 10 hours a week, 40 weeks a month. You do the math on weeks a year or hours a year. I can't do it while I'm on the air, even though I know it's not a tough problem. It doesn't matter. Whatever that number ends up being. You are here enough to get an idea of the type of person that I am and the type of show that I run if you watch it or listen to it or catch the podcast. If you're, Skyping with a coach a few hours here and there, I mean, it gets hard. Versus what it can be like that moment you're on campus and that coach looks you in your eye, talks to your mom or dad in the eye, and tells them what they're going to, how they're going to treat you, what their expectations are for you. And on and on and on. Those are things that Clemson capitalizes on like perhaps few others are able to do. It is most likely, it is the top reason that Clemson has ascended to where they are in college football. The intimacy, the relationships. Now, the rivals, they don't want to hear that. They don't want to buy into that. They don't want to believe that. You heard Chris Landry talk about why college football gets out there to play the game. Your rivals will want people to believe it's the cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. Like that's what they don't believe. Oh, yeah, Clemson, they're going to be paying their players. That's how they get those top prospects. I mean, everybody tries to find a way to undermine you when you're at the top. I told you that out of the gate. It just happens. That's what it means to be at the top. Everybody wants to be king of the mountain, but there's only room for one person at the top every season. And so a byproduct of that is the tactics that will be used against you. And you can fault people all you want. You can be angry with other fan bases all you want. But when you're not on top, it's easy to be that same person. And so what Clemson's, what their real gift is to these players is to be able to bring them into the program and sell their families on what that environment is like and what kind of community they're going to be a part of, how they'll be taken care of, and what their future looks like. Clemson doesn't have that. But HR does note at the back end, his second text, he said he believes that it will be back to status quo next season. He said this year is going to be so-so until Clemson can get back to doing what it does best with visits, one-on-one time. He says the current setup feeds more to the phone and spin programs. Every coach is a salesman. Buddy, I didn't like Bobby Petrino from afar. But when I sat down with him and talked to him, I thought, oh man, I like this guy for some reason. And you know how he can, how he can be perceived by the things that he's done in the past. But I'm telling you, you sit down with him across the table and you say, because look, at the ACC kickoff, as William Qualkenbush told you the other day, you don't really get your choice anymore. It was kind of like, here's Bobby Petrino. What am I going to say? No. No, thanks. They would go, all right, well, you don't have anybody. I mean, you got Dabo. You got Bobby Petrino. You going to complain? No, I'll take Bobby. And he sat down and he's talking, and I'm going, I can see how people could like this guy. Even though in the back of my head, I'm going, I probably really don't like this guy. And so from that standpoint, obviously, things are much different for the Clemson Tigers this year. 803-450-0086. I told you we were going to talk about a new $50 million man potentially in the NFL. Sources out of Nashville say that the Tennessee Titans have reached an agreement with former Heisman Trophy winner Derrick Henry. This deal worth 4 years, $50 million potentially for Derrick Henry up in Nashville, according to Adam Schefter from ESPN. Big money from the former running back at Alabama.
My friends at Zero Res want you to know that National Carpet Cleaning Month is this month. And to celebrate, they'll clean 3 rooms of carpet at your house for just $119. Mention me, Kelly Nash, while booking, and get the hallway for free. 803-262-4020 or ZeroResColumbia.com.
Paid non-attorney spokesperson. Attention all women who have been diagnosed with ovarian cancer. Johnson & Johnson's baby powder and shower-to-shower talcum products have been linked to ovarian cancer. In February and May 2016, Johnson & Johnson was ordered to pay $72 million and $55 million by 2 juries to 2 women who contracted ovarian cancer after years of using talcum baby powder products. If you or a family member has been diagnosed with ovarian cancer and used talcum powder prior to the diagnosis, call Talcum Powder Help Now today at 800-833-0112. You may be entitled to substantial compensation. The consultation is free and you'll pay nothing unless there is a recovery in your favor. Don't fight this alone. If you or a loved one used talcum baby powder-based products before being diagnosed or died from ovarian cancer, call Talcum Powder Help Now at 800-833-0112. 800-833-0112. 800-833-0112.
Paid for by Bar Justice.
Tonight stays clear and warm with lows in the mid-70s. Tomorrow's going to be a hot day. A lot of sunshine, highs mid-90s. For Channel 25 ABC Columbia, I'm Chief Meteorologist John Farley.
This report is sponsored by Compassion International.
We're all feeling the weight of COVID-19, but for kids in poverty around the world, things are becoming desperate. Join Compassion International and provide for a family in poverty. Make your one-time $40 gift. Text HOPE to 83393.
iHeartRadio is the #1 choice for music, radio, and podcasts, all in one. No one makes it easier to hear everything you love in one free app.
No other app gives you the all-in-one experience like they do.
iHeart, they did it. I have my podcasts, my music. Why would I pay for multiple apps?
Are people still paying for podcasts?
It's pretty incredible. It has everything. Did I mention it's free?
If you're not one of the tens of millions who have the app, download iHeartRadio for free today and start listening.
iHeartRadio. Every year, Steve Faircal climbs the stairs at the John Hancock Center in Chicago, 94 floors to the top.
It's called the hustle of the Hancock.
It's hard to believe when you watch Steve today that a few years ago, his lungs were failing and he was fighting to survive.
For 8 hours a day, someone was pounding on my chest to try and keep my lungs clear. I honestly don't think I had more than a couple weeks to live.
That's when Steve received the gift of life, a double lung transplant made possible by an organ donor.
After I got my new lungs, I started doing things that I had never been able to do. I never knew that breathing could feel this good.
Steve climbs to honor his donor and to raise awareness for organ, eye, and tissue donation.
Wouldn't you like that when you left this beautiful planet, that you could save a few lives on your way out? It's an incredible gift.
Imagine what you could make possible by leaving behind the gift of life. Learn more and sign up as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. Go to organdonor.gov. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Health Resources and Services Administration.
Come on, smile. Oh, honey, he's still not smiling.
Maybe he's not a smiler.
Yeah, maybe he's just not a happy baby.
Maybe he's just being a boy.
Or maybe he's teething.
Maybe it's just a phase.
Maybe he has autism, and we can definitely do something to help.
Maybe is all you need to find out more about autism. No big, joyful smiles by 6 months is one early sign. Learn the others at autismspeaks.org/signs. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
Our local restaurants need all the help we can give them right now. Win $1,000 and leave a huge tip at your favorite place on Fox Sports Radio 1400.
Clemson Sports Talk, Lawton Swan, the website clemsonsportstalk.com. If you've never been there, head over, check it out. We would appreciate that. I would love to have you become a premium subscriber, support us, support our show, help us grow. You can text us 803-450-0086. You can also call that number, 803-450-0086. And leave us a message, and we'll play you on the air. If we don't get you on the air today, we'll get you on tomorrow. And if you're a podcast listener, we'll work you on when we get your message. I am never been against resetting the conversation if we have to. Happy to do it, to talk a little bit about the sports and the teams that you love. Now, we put a poll question up earlier over on Facebook. Which freshman defensive lineman are you most ready to see play? We'll continue to allow anybody that wants to vote in that poll to vote in that poll. So we'll bring that up. We'll bring that back around again in the back end of the show, and perhaps we may start the show off with some more polls like that as well. So again, ClemsonSportsTalk.com is your website. Checking to see any other comments that we've got coming in from the multitude of ways that you can be a part of this show. Now, from the standpoint of those defensive linemen personally, I think that Clemson's been spoiled to a degree by just how good they have been on the defensive line through the years. And when you bring in, and listen, I always hate when you do a poll like this and you leave out a kid like Trey Williams, because he has a chance maybe to be a guy very similar to, say, Grady Jarrett, just a wrecking ball, big boy in the middle. Maybe he could be the second coming, of a Tyler Davis. And then you've got the other three bigger names, DeMonte Capehart, Miles Murphy, and Brian Brzee, who really have garnered a lot of attention. I think Brzee and Murphy, perhaps for most people more than others, but also DeMonte Capehart is a young man who has been, there have been conversations about, hey, he could be the best of the bunch and perhaps the most versatile of the bunch. And so I know that the coaching staff has got to be anxious to see these guys on the field, but which one are you most anxious to see? I think for me, this topic and this question is going to trend more towards, and we may put it out tomorrow if we don't get a ton of votes today to get a real measure. I actually forgot that we could do the polls. But I think that the topics would tend to trend, or the choices would tend to trend towards Brian Brzee because of the freakish look of a lot of the film that you've seen on him. And so many players, or so many fans out there get caught up in highlight reel of some of these guys, that it can be hard to kind of wash that out of your brain and give somebody a fair assessment of who you think might be the most impactful, because that's a different question. And so, from that standpoint, I think all three of these guys are going to have a chance to play. I think with the new 4-game freshman redshirt rule, there's a real chance that 2 out of the 3 end up redshirting and maybe only playing in 4 games. And I don't know that that's not the unwise move to make, because one of the things we do know is that defensive linemen, while these guys show up looking the part already, there's a lot of physicality to the game that they might lack as true freshmen. There's a lot of things that they could get away with at the high school level that they can't get away with now. There are things that would catch up with them that wouldn't have caught up with them in high school. Certain leverage, pad level, little things that they would have just out-muscled somebody across the line of scrimmage from them at the high school level. With that being said, I think that that's another reason that they are more apt to be guys that get redshirted, like a KJ Henry. Get a chance to actually play, get a chance to go good on good with some of the starters at practice, get the chance to play in real games, but also get to physically mature and come back as a redshirt freshman the following year with experience, better physique, been a year in the weight room. I mean, all of the things that come along with it. So from that standpoint, I think all these guys have tremendous upside. Would I be shocked if at the end of his playing days, when we look at it, we go, Devontae Capehart ended up being the most explosive and the best and the highest drafted? No. But I think the overwhelming guy that people really want to see right now from Clemson Tiger fans as a freshman on that defensive line is Brian Brzee. And I think it goes back to the highlight film mentality, the highlight room mentality. There's nothing wrong with that. That stuff's fun to watch. Like a man among boys at times. And, from that aspect of what Clemson's got right now, I was on with my good buddy Jamie Bradford and Darren Goldwater on their show, JB and Goldwater, this week, and they were asking me about the defensive line. And I think that one of the things we really have to focus on is versatility with players. And the more versatile athletes that you can bring into your program, the better for depth, from the ability to absorb the wear and tear that takes place on these guys. I mean, as the tread starts to wear down on the tires, you look back, a guy like Dexter Lawrence will tell you, man, it was great to have guys that could come in a big rotation and keep those boys healthy. Kept them fresh. And so I think these guys all are physically capable already of getting in and I wouldn't call it stealing reps, but helping out with Clemson's depth. But for the future, who's to say who's going to be the best or over the long haul, the most explosive? But I think the most anticipated, the guy everybody really wants to see this year, in my estimation, is a guy like Brian Brzee. And we'll check what you guys think here in just a few minutes. I know we got the final break of the show coming up. Your website, ClemsonSportsTalk.com, and the staples of The Athletic, with an article today about what must happen for the 2020 college football season to take place. Again, we told you yesterday, almost 75% of football athletic directors believe it will be delayed this year. Unbelievable. Stay with us. Stay with us.
Group training is a fun, accountable way to get in shape. I'm Coach Stewart of Dynamic Health and Fitness. Come train with one of our special groups today. We will focus on giving you the support you need to get in shape. We use the Dynamic Mob, featuring intervals of cardio, functional training, and strength training to change your lifestyle to make you healthy. Get started today at any of our locations in Lexington or West Columbia, or call 803-408-4060 or online at dynamichealthclub.com.
Kirk Commercial Construction is a licensed general contractor in South Carolina. Since 2011, Chris Kirk, a Columbia native with 20 years of construction experience, has believed in meeting his customers' needs. Kirk Commercial Construction is capable of performing any retail or office expansion, new construction, metal building, or commercial renovation work. In addition to Kirk's commercial construction projects, their service division can assist you with commercial and maintenance tasks. If you need it done right, call 803-250-2495 or kirkcommercialconstruction.com.
Hey golfers, have you been to the golf capital of the world yet? Myrtle Beach Golf offers a variety of custom packages featuring nearly 80 courses. Golfers have the option to create the exact experience they're looking for. Plus, Myrtle Beach Golf provides top-notch accommodations with over 15 resorts, all guaranteed to be a hole-in-one. Come join us for a short drive away in Myrtle Beach for your best golf trip by par. Book now at myrtlebeachgolf.com.
At the Samuels Reynolds Law Firm, we've seen how terrible accidents turn lives upside down, and we're proud to be the lawyers our clients depend on during their toughest moments. I'm Jason Reynolds. Call me when your family is faced with any serious injury or death.
And I'm Stephen Samuels. When you're hurt at work, I go to work, getting you the medical treatment and workers' compensation you depend on. We have the experience and passion you need when you need it most.
Samuels Reynolds. True injuries, true lawyers. 779-4000.
Hey guys, Lawton Swan here. I was hanging out in the backyard with my son Mason a couple of years ago, and he said, "Dad, you're the best father ever." When I asked him why, he said, "Because when I go outside to play, I don't get eaten up by the bugs anymore." Imagine that, me a hero, when all I did was call my good buddy Trey Powell at Mosquito Joe. With their routine service plan, no more bugs and no more bites. Make yourself the family hero. Call Mosquito Joe today, 803-223-7916. That's 803-223-7916. Outside is fun again.
At AAA Heating and Air, get an instant manufacturer's rebate of $1,500 plus 0% financing for qualified applicants and a 15-year parts and labor warranty. Call 677-1500 today.
AAA Air when you need us. AAA Heating and Air.
When I grow up, I want to be a new pair of blue jeans.
When I grow up, I want to be a kid's first computer.
When I grow up, I want to be a glass countertop in a new home.
When I grow up, I want to be a kid's best birthday present.
When I grow up, I want to be a football stadium.
When I grow up, I want to be a warm fleece on a cold day.
When I grow up, I want to be a fancy backsplash.
I want to be a bike that races around the country. When I grow up, I want to be a bench on a forest trail. I want to be a rocking chair on a sunny porch. I want to be a skyscraper. I want to be a
When I grow up, I don't want to be a piece of garbage. And if you recycle me, I won't be.
Give your garbage another life. Recycle. Learn how at iwanttoberecycled.org. A public service advertisement brought to you by Keep America Beautiful and the Ad Council.
Fox Sports Radio 1400. Online at foxsportsradio1400.com. On your phone with the iHeartRadio app and on hundreds of devices like Alexa, Google Home, Xbox, and Sonos. An iHeart radio station.
What have you done for me lately? It's a fair question. Just don't lose sight of the bigger picture. Don't forget history. Lucky for us at Clemson, the answer to the questions, what have you done for me lately, and what have you done always, are the same. We win.
final segment of the show that shakes the Southland. You can't not have the hype music. You can't not have the hype music. 803-450-0086, your text line. 803-450-0086. I have no idea if the poll's working. That's the perils of going to a new format. I'm like, well, I'll put a poll up. But I remember when I first did these polls, I never could quite figure out if they were, if they were published. Even though they'd say they were published, I wouldn't know if they were showing up in the show. And, and I look at it, I don't necessarily see the poll. So I don't even know. I'm trying to look at the stream now. Like, if I was a fan watching the show, how would I know where to vote? Like, I don't even see it, which is probably why I don't have any votes. I can't figure out where that would be. Huh. Oh, well. I guess tomorrow we'll figure out the polls. I don't see like a swipe or anything. But I am excited that we've, got polls potentially. Even if I wonder if I make it full screen. Nope. Nada. So, all right, what if I show the poll results? We'll find out. We're learning. We're flying this plane with you. Brand new. Just hoping not to crash it. Again, 803-450-0086. Man, 2 hours today has absolutely flown by. We had a great conversation early today with Caleb Burton. That'll be in an exclusive interview for Clemson Tiger fans over on our website. Burton, of course, a 2022 wide receiver out of the state of Texas. So make sure if you want to get the latest from him and what's going on with his situation with the Tigers, you could do that. See, now that's weird. I see the poll there, but I don't know. I don't see it on the screen when I'm watching. I don't think you do either. So that's probably why nobody voted, because I see people watching. But I see it in front of me on the test run. Oh, well. We'll rock and roll. We'll keep on going with it. Nonetheless, again, uncertainty rules the day. We've asked the question. We put up a video the other day. We talked about it here on the show. We posted it today on Facebook. Should Notre Dame be in the Atlantic Coast Conference Championship or in the mix for it this year? I can see where a lot of you would vehemently say, no chance, Swanee. No. But there's also, I think, a different side of it, which is, hey, maybe, and I've said all along, I think they're the best team to fit in the ACC because they're already a member in so many different areas. And yesterday on the program, I thought Mike Yuba made an excellent point about what Notre Dame brings to the totality of the ACC. From that standpoint, I think if you are a fan of the league as a whole, the belief would absolutely be that they will end up being the 15th team in, and then you just got to figure out who the 16th is. But this would be a chance to test the water and let them see, hey, do you like playing in a conference championship? I mean, you know what it feels like in basketball and baseball and other sports. How'd you like to find out what it feels like in football? I think all options this year are on the table. As I said during our interview with Chris Landry earlier, I think that this is the year that you can move the three-point line, expand the lane, these things that you do in the NIT because it really doesn't matter. I think you can take those chances that you normally wouldn't take as a program, as a league, as a conference, as college football, and say, hey, we're gonna shorten the season. We're gonna play a bigger playoff. Notre Dame's going to be in the ACC, and they're going to play for a conference championship. We're just going to do everything. I mean, I don't think that you can scrap conferences completely and just geographically put things together to limit travel and not have players flying everywhere. But I'll be lying to you if I didn't think that this would be the year that you could try to pull it off. So Clemson, this is me spitballing here. Clemson, South Carolina, Georgia, Georgia Tech, Duke, North Carolina, Wake Forest, NC State. Maybe that's a conference. I mean, like, I know that's not going to happen. I get it. Like, you're going, Swanee, that is never going to happen. And I understand that's never going to happen. But I think at this time, you have to at least consider every option.
You too dumb to know how to get mad when I call you a dummy.
But, I think that if you're going to do anything crazy, this is the year to try it. I saw a question, and I'll leave you with this today. And you can marinate on it. We may or may not get back to it on Thursday. Because it was part of the polling that went out to Clemson fans. Would you rather have college football in the fall with no fans or in the spring with fans? I think that's another great debate. Matter of fact, I'm going to put it in the books. We'll debate it out of the gate tomorrow. Incredibly, our time is done here. Thank you to everybody for watching on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Man, it's been a pleasure being here. And until tomorrow, as always, y'all take care now. And go Tigers!
Clemson
Go
Sports
Tigers!
Talk with Lawton Swan on Columbia's home for sports. Fox Sports Radio 1400. Now, Columbia's most dependable traffic, sponsored by Pope Davis Tire and Automotive, home of the best tire prices in Columbia, guaranteed. Fox Sports